Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Drennan. I am an undergraduate admission counselor at Pace University, and I'm going to introduce Helene Cruz, who's going to go over career services and what we offer here at Pace.
Great. Thank you, Jessica. As Jessica mentioned, I'm Helene Cruz. I'm the Director of Career Services here on the New York City campus, and I'm delighted to be here this evening with Jessica and Alexa, who is going to be keeping her eye on the chat box, which we're going to have later on, the second half of this presentation, have you participate. So excited to be here. Career Services offers, programs and services to students, undergrad, graduate students, alumni who graduate and come back who need help and support in their job search. And tonight we're going to present one of the workshops that we give to students and alumni, virtual interviewing. And, everything seems to be virtual now with all that's going on with COVID. So I'm assuming that most of you are taking your classes online, have been taking those classes since the spring. So you probably are familiar with a lot of this material from a standpoint of taking your classes. However, we want to help you, give you some helpful hints on how to interview via video. And then the first half is going to be just tips and tricks, and then we're going to have an interactive piece where Jessica is going to help me. We're going to do mock interview and ask you to critique it. And give us some feedback at the end, okay? So again, Alexa is going to be manning the chat, and we're going to begin. So Jessica, first slide. So basically, the agenda for this evening is why virtual interviews. As I mentioned, due to COVID, they're even more and more popular. But even prior to COVID, employers were taking advantage of the platforms, the many platforms that are offered out there, because it's cost effective. You can view at your leisure. You can do it from your office. You can do it from your home. So it really makes a lot of sense. The types of virtual interviews, 6 tips for a successful virtual interview. The interview day, what happens, that day, give you a game plan, and then next steps, the practice where you come in. So if you have questions, please, if you want to put that in the chat, and then we'll answer them after we do the practice. That would be great. Thank you. Types of video interviews. Now, what we're going to do tonight, and we're going to talk about, the baseline of what we're going to talk about is online virtual interviewing. And that's the live interview. You're not in person, but you're live virtually. And the platforms, Zoom is very popular, and we tend to use Zoom a lot here at Pace. Skype, FaceTime, Google Hangouts, or other third-party video apps. So, maybe in your classes, you use a Google Hangout or Google Meets. So that's where you're live with a person or multiple people, and you're doing a video chat. Then there's a pre-recorded video. That's the second piece where it's one way. You're not seeing a person on the other side, but you're being sent a link. You're being invited to interview. That interviewer will send you a link via email, and then you'll click on that link, log on, and then there'll be certain questions that you answer. And then they're timed on it. So a little bit of a little stressful that we found from students, that they find it's a little stressful at first, but again, career services here at Pace, once you attend our university, we'd be happy to help you and coach you on how to do a pre-recorded video or interview, because that's common. The more common is the live chat, but again, some employers will use that pre-recorded because then they can view it later and rewind it and watch it, and they can tell from the different candidates maybe who's the most qualified. So those are the 2 types of video interviews. 6 tips for a successful virtual interview. We're going to spend a little bit of time on this, and then we're going to practice, okay? Basically, testing the technology is very important. We'll talk a little bit about that. The location, how your setup is, how your background is, dressing for success, body language and eye contact when you're doing a virtual, the interview itself, and then the practice. Testing the technology. Basically, what you want to do if you're being invited to interview, You want to download the software in advance. So you're applying for a job, you get an email or a phone call, someone gives you a link and they say, okay, you're going to click, here's a Zoom, here's a Google Meetup, however, whatever platform or mechanism they use. You want to make sure that you download the software if you don't already have it on your desktop or your laptop, and do a quick test beforehand, not right before the event, but maybe the morning of, the day before. You want to check it out and you want to make sure that the camera, the mic, that everything is working, because you don't want to waste time in the interview fiddling around to see what the issues are. So you definitely want to do a check beforehand. Test your internet, make sure Wi-Fi, make sure your battery, if you're using a laptop, if you're using a cell phone, many people use their cell phones or their tablets. Make sure you have your charger handy, just in case. You don't want to lose battery in the middle of an interview, okay, because it's your first impression. You want to make sure everything goes smoothly. Practice makes perfect. You want to maybe do some training calls. Maybe Zoom has a platform that you can test and see how you show up on the app, how you look. Maybe do a couple of test questions, play around with it, maybe send a link to one of your friends and test it just before the actual interview, maybe a little bit week before the interview, so that you're comfortable with the app the day of the event, the interview. And then you want to make sure that you're closing any streaming, any other applications that are open on your desktop or your laptop or any platform that you're using. You want to make sure that you're closing down so that you don't have too many things open, because that can cause a delay, or sometimes you can get kicked off the system. So you want to make sure you just have the Zoom or the Google Meet, and whatever else you need to have open for that interview. And of course, you want to know the meeting ID, the password. Make sure you have everything down. Take it down correctly, or save the emails that you're getting to give you the direction on how to log on, and have them ready before you get on to the platform. Okay, so testing the technology, of course, is key. The location. So basically, you want to make sure you have a clean, uncluttered background with good lighting. Now, for some of you, you're sharing a space. Maybe you have roommates. Maybe you have sharing a room with family. There's a lot going on. You might not have a space that's not cluttered. There's ways to work around that, and we'll give you a couple of helpful hints. But you want to avoid, to the best of your ability, the cluttered areas. If there's a lot of things going on in the back, as you can see, I have some piles back there and I have a fan back there. You want to make sure it's not cluttered when you're interviewing, that your desk is clean, there's not too much distraction. And you want to make sure that your lighting is good so that they can see you, all right? On Zoom, there are such things called virtual backgrounds. So maybe you want to choose something that's very, I want to say plain, not too fun, not too busy, but to just block out the background. If you're not happy with the background that you have, you can do that as well, or blur it out. And again, you want to make sure the distractions, any interruptions, that you minimize those interruptions. Like if some of you have pets, the phone ringing, noise with family and friends, you really want to put that, as I say, the APB out there to say, listen, guys, I'm going to be on an interview. Make sure that you have some privacy to the best of your ability. Now, things happen, obviously, sometimes that are beyond your control, but to the best of your ability, you want to make sure you're telling people, if you're sharing a space, if you're living in an apartment, a house, that you're going to be on an interview from X time to Y time to try to give you some space and some privacy, okay? So that's location. Very important, just as much as the technology. Dressing for success. Now, this is a virtual interview, right? Maybe you're applying for a part-time job, an internship. We teach students and we prep them for internship and full-time opportunities upon graduation. But a lot of the work that we do with students is for internships, which is pre-professional experience. So basically, you have one chance to make a good first impression. So we have a couple of picks for you to look at. You want to make sure that you wear the same professional attire as you would do an in-person interview. Now, again, if you're going for a part-time job, you don't have to suit it up per se, maybe white shirt, slacks. But if you're interviewing for an internship, you want to make sure you have a suit, doesn't have to be so expensive, dark color, white shirt or blouse underneath, make sure it's neat. Now, they're going to see you from the waist up, so you're probably thinking, hey, maybe I'll wear my pajama pants underneath. They're not going to see them. Make sure you're suited up. You don't want to take any chances. So, wear the whole suit. It's only for a half hour. 45 minutes, an hour. There are places that you can purchase suits that are not so expensive. So, sometimes you get Century 21, Macy's, local places where you can get a jacket and some pants. Doesn't necessarily have to match, and then a blouse or shirt underneath. Or skirt even if you want to wear a skirt, but make sure you're wearing it even though you're only being seen from the waist up. You want to make sure any tattoos or face piercings, if you can cover up to the best of your ability, of course, remove the face piercings if possible. And then that your nails are neat and clean, not too flashy, not too much of bright colors. Keep it neutral, keep it toned down for the purposes of interviewing, because it's just as your first impression. It's your first go around. So you want to make sure you tone it down as much as possible. Once you land that opportunity, you can ask to say, hey, how do people dress around here? And then you fit the culture and the style of the place that you're going to be working at. Okay. Continuation, hair. You want to make sure your hair is neat and away from your face. You don't want to play with your hair. I have a habit, and I was doing it before we logged on. I have a habit of I play with my hair a little bit, kind of move it, scoop it out of the way. You want to make sure you don't get in the habit of doing that. You don't want to be, twirling your hair too much or fixing your hair too much, because it distracts. It distracts from what you're saying. You may want to opt for a slick back look, or sleek it, put it up in a bun, braid. That's an option too, again, just to get it away from your face, so that you can make that connection with whomever that you're meeting on the other side. Okay, so that's dress for success. I know I'm going quickly, but I want to get to the, as we say, the meat and potatoes of it, the practice, because we really need your help on this. Okay. Body language and eye contact. As you can see, I'm looking at the camera as I'm speaking to you. So in an interview, even though you might be inclined to look at the box or the boxes of people, if it's a Zoom call, you want to make sure that you're looking into the camera because they can see you. You want to make sure that you're not too distracting in your gestures. Now, let me just share. I always put myself out there. I'm a hand talker, as if you didn't notice. I'm animated. I talk with my hands. It's a Latin Italian thing, and I have both. So I'm very very expressive, and that's great. It shows enthusiasm and energy, but you also don't want to overdo it. Okay. Again, a coach, once you start attending college, you can come to Career Services. We can help you. We can practice with you. Even in high school, or if you're in college right now and you're going to transfer in, you can work with a counselor. Maybe your high school counselor or your current college counselor can coach you to teach you and give you some pointers on how best to deliver that body language, the nonverbal communication. Sometimes it's the nonverbals, not just what you say, but what you're doing that's expressive. Okay. You don't want to be slouching. You don't want to be too cash. You don't want to be yawning or fidgeting around, moving around too much, because you may make someone a little dizzy. Again, it may distract. So you want to make sure that you're positioned a certain way, not too stiff, but you want to make sure you're portraying the confidence that you need to show them that you're the best person for this position. Looking at the camera, and then make sure that you're well centered, not too close in, not too far away. You want them to be able to see you. Okay. So you want that happy medium, as we say. All right. So that's body language and eye contact. The interview itself. Okay. I'm racing through this because I want to get to the good stuff. Okay. The interview itself, it's watching your tone, the rate at which you speak, the volume of speech. You don't want to be too loud, and you don't want to be too soft. You want to make sure there's again, a happy medium, okay? You don't want to rush your answers, especially if you're doing something that is a pre-recorded, not like tonight. Tonight we see each other. Well, I can't see you, but there's people on the call. When it's a pre-recorded, pretty much you're the only one. You can't see the person on the other side, and you're recording your answers. So you don't want to rush through it. If it's a 2-minute allotment, you don't want to rush through within 30 seconds to a minute, and then the clock is ticking and you can't, it's empty space. So make sure you're not racing and not speaking too fast. And remember, when it's a virtual interview, even if virtual or live, it's a conversation that you're having with someone. They've received your resume, they like it, they want to get to know you, so they've invited you to meet with them. So remember, it's a conversation. You want to pace yourself, right? Pace yourself, but you also want to speak slowly and clearly. I speak fast. I have a tendency to speak fast, especially when I'm nervous, and most people do. They kind of race through it. So you want to pace yourself and speak slowly and clearly and articulate and be a little bit patterned, not too rehearsed. But again, practice makes perfect. You're going to learn this as you go, okay? You want to make sure you're using a chair. With a desk or a table, it's not the best to do a couch or a bed. It's too casual. Again, if you have nowhere else to go, we offer our students here at PACE, we have interview rooms. So if they live in a res hall, or if they have roommates, or have in a crowded house or apartment, we offer them to book a space with us so that they have a private room that they can bring their laptop and do an interview without noise and distraction. So maybe your high school or your current college offers that. That would be great. Or maybe you could go to a friend's house if your house is too crowded to do the interview itself. So you're not like maybe confined to your bed or your couch, okay? Just a suggestion. You want to be on time, maybe 5 minutes early, and chances are they're going to keep you in what's called a waiting room, kind of like what we did tonight. 5 minutes before, sign on a little bit early so that you can get your thoughts together, take a deep breath, and be prepared, okay? Interview continued. You're not meeting with someone in person, so you can't handshake. And pretty much even with COVID, we don't shake hands right now. We're pretty much social distancing. So you want to give that digital handshake, which is that nod, very nice to meet you, that confidence. Look at that camera, just give them that swagger, so to speak, that interview swagger. Make sure that the interviewer's face box, if you're doing it live, is maybe close to the camera. Like I'm doing it right now, you can't see it, where I can see Jessica and Alexa. I have their boxes close to my camera. So it's almost as if I'm looking at them, but I'm really looking at the camera. So Zoom allows you to do that. Not really sure about the other platforms, but it gives you that feeling, and it puts you more at ease because you're looking at the box, but you're looking at really looking at the camera. You want to make sure that the other person or the people who are interviewing you can speak. You don't want to interrupt them or talk over them, and it's a conversation. It's a two-way street, okay? Nonverbal behavior is important, like I mentioned. So you want to make sure you nod a bit, that you smile, that you show enthusiasm, that you're in moderation using your hands for effect, for energy level. It shows your personality. It shows your presence, okay? So think about that. Now, some of you might be a little bit introverted, maybe a little shy, maybe a little nervous. Again, once you start practicing and feeling more comfortable, you're going to excel. Interviewing is an art. I've interviewed people in the past. I practice interviewing with students, and I've been on interviews, and I still need practice. So don't feel badly that maybe you haven't done this yet, or maybe you've done it once or twice, not so much with the video, maybe in person. Once you come to PACE, we're going to help you. And we invite students in to do pre-recorded. LinkedIn offers a package where you can get on to linkedin.com, and there's a video, practice video section where you could use that and then email it to someone. You could email it to your counselor here at PACE and come in and watch it together and do a critique. So for the here and now, wherever you are, maybe there's someone you can practice with. Practice makes perfect, okay? You want to make sure that if you're taking notes that you say, like to take some notes, is that okay with you? If something is not clear that someone is saying, ask for clarification. Can you repeat that? Can you explain that? I really don't understand that. Can you say that again, please? That's okay to do, okay? It's an interview. You want to be clear. Interviewing is a conversation. However, you don't want to get too comfortable. You know, maybe you're hitting it off with that recruiter or that person who's interviewing you. You don't want to get too relaxed because they don't know you. They don't know you yet. So you want to make sure you're professional and you're courteous, you're respectful, not too comfortable, not too casual. Okay, again, it's a happy medium. You want to make sure it's just right. Is that Goldilocks? I think the story of Goldilocks. You don't want it too cold, too hot. You want it just right. And again, you practice with someone and they'll coach you along the way. Okay, so that's the interview. And I hope some of you have been on interviews that you can help us later on with the second part of this. Okay, practice. We're going to do a little bit of practicing in a few, so get ready. You want to make sure that before you interview, you conduct research. Now, the internet has so much. Company websites, if you Google or if you have the link to the company website, gives you information, the basics on what the company does, the position that you have applied for. Maybe if you have a job description handy, and take some notes before the interview so you understand a little bit about what that job entails and maybe how you can do it, okay? And when you interview, it really is a pitch, you know, explaining to them, why are you the best candidate? Giving specifics, giving examples. So that's what we're going to do tonight, all right? You want to just think about practice questions, the basic questions, the most popular questions that interviewers will ask. We're going to do that shortly. Review your resume. You've created a resume, and sometimes I've created mine so long ago I don't know what's on there. You want to make sure you know what's on that resume because it's open season. That employer has invited you in, has read your resume, and they're going to ask you questions off of the resume. So know what's on there and be prepared to talk about it. Record yourself. There's a way to record yourself on Zoom or whatever platform you have or you're comfortable with, or practice on LinkedIn, like I just mentioned. There's linkedin.com practice interview where they give you certain questions and you can do like little video clips, send them to yourself or maybe your counselor or a friend to practice and view it with to get some feedback. Okay, so it's very important to practice. Day of the interview. Woohoo, the day has come. All right, the action plan, which is just in a nutshell, just reiterating a couple of things that we've talked about tonight. You want to make sure you dress professionally, check your internet connection, turn your equipment, 10 to 15 minutes early, make sure you're testing it or the day before, or, better to do it the day before and the day of as well, prior, 10 to 15 minutes prior, and then log on 5 minutes before you're due, your interview time. Turn your cell phone off or your landline if you have a landline. I did a workshop earlier and the students were laughing, like, you still have a landline? Like nobody has a landline, but I still do. I can't get rid of it. So unless you have an emergency situation and you need the phone to be on, maybe you could put it on vibrate so it doesn't go off, but that you can hear the vibration at least. Make sure that there are no pets or distractions, again, to the best of your ability. Follow the lead of the person. They've invited you in, so you want to follow the conversation. Stay focused, stay energized, show enthusiasm, show interest, and you want to say thank you, at the end, and maybe send a note afterwards via email to just express that you appreciated their time, and then maybe tell them a little bit more about yourself and reference the interview so that another sales opportunity, another opportunity for you to pitch yourself and show them that you're the best person for this job. Okay, so that's the plan. That's the game plan. Okay, we're going to practice. But before we do, let's go over some questions that are key. Okay, okay. Sample interview questions. Now, these are the basics. These are the questions that get the ball rolling. They get the party started. Now, some of you may have already been asked these questions on an interview before, and you'll help us. You're going to help us critique Jessica later on when she practices with me. Okay, so the first question, it really is a standard basic question, is tell me about yourself. That's usually the first, like, kind of like lead-in question. The end question, I put the first question and the last question together. It's the beginning of the story and the end. That second question is, why should I hire you? So basically what they want to find out in the beginning of an interview, at the end of an interview, what skills, what are the key skills and attributes that you have, and have you communicated that as it relates to the job that you've applied for? So you really want to sell it. It's almost like a sales call. You want to sell that. How do your skills and your attributes, how do you fit? And how do you best fit the job that they've posted, that you've applied for, and that you're there interviewing for? Okay, it's the beginning and the end of the story. And we're going to do a little bit of that this evening. What is your greatest weakness and strength? Now, who wants to talk about weaknesses, right? It's like, oh, that's like kiss of death. However, what we want to find out, obviously your strengths, we want to find out what you're good at, what you bring to the table, so to speak. However, with strengths and weakness, you want to give an example. You want to support what you're saying with some examples. Examples from high school, examples from your classes, examples from your past jobs, part-time jobs. If you're involved in extracurricular activities, I'm sure you're developing skills and you have strengths there. So have some examples handy. The weakness question is really, what do you struggle with? Everybody struggles with something. There's no shame in that. However, we want to know that you're aware of that struggle and how did you overcome it, or what steps are you taking to overcome it? Okay, so that's the meaning behind those questions. Is I want to get to know your strengths. I want to hear you support your strengths and give me examples, but I also want to hear about weaknesses. What do you struggle with and how are you overcoming it? What strategies do you have in place to tell me that you're working on it already, so I know that's not going to be an issue when you work with me? Okay, that's the meaning behind these questions. Why are you interested in working for this company? So basically, how well do you know their company? Did you do your homework? Did you look on their company website? Did you do a Google search to see what's going on in this company? Are they going bankrupt? Did they lay people off? Does the company stand for what you believe in? Like, you want to make sure that you're doing the homework. Now, that doesn't mean you do a full page report on the company, but get some ideas as to what the company does. At least know what industry it's in, the nature of what they do, so that you can have a little bit of a conversation, have a little bit of knowledge about the company. Now, the wonderful thing I hear from employers who come and work with our students, whether it's on campus or virtually, over the years, employers have told us, wow, your students are really prepared. They know the company. They know what we do. Wow, that's impressive. I don't think I did that when I was a student. So we get that feedback, and it's important because it shows the company that you are interested. It shows that you care. All right. It shows that you want to be there and you're not just looking for a job. Some people are just applying, and they don't know what they're applying for. They just need work. And when they go to the interview, they don't know what the company does. They don't have an understanding for the position, even if it's a part-time position or an internship. They just don't know, or maybe they just don't care. They need work, which there's nothing wrong with that. But put yourself in the shoes of the employer. That employer wants to know that you want to be there and you know what they do and you can be an asset to the team. Okay, so that's what we want to find out. Did you find out about what we do? All right. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Now, For all of you, maybe you're going to be graduating from undergrad in 5 years, going to grad school, starting your careers. That might be the standard answer. So what an employer wants to know by asking that question, they want to know, are you driven? Are you motivated? Do you know our industry? Do you want to stay with us? Do you want to grow in our company, our industry? Do you want to prosper? Do you have a game plan? Do you have a mission? Now, again, if it's a part-time job, if it's an internship, you're just starting out. We're not asking you for, again, a full-page action plan, but have some sort of sense of direction. Now, again, counselors can help you. When you do the resume with a counselor, when you do practice interviews with a counselor, you can talk about these questions and see how you want to answer them, and maybe write some ideas down so that you go in and you have a story, okay? What did you enjoy least at your previous job? Now, the reason they're asking that, they want to see if you'd be a good fit for them. Now, do you focus on the positives about your previous jobs or the negatives? Do you come in talking and bad-mouthing your boss and your coworkers and your classmates? I mean, if you've never worked before, you're talking about your school experiences. So are you going to come in and be negative? Are you going to bring that to my shop and to my company and to my team? That's what I want to figure out. I want to know how you answer and how you best describe your previous experiences. Are you a complainer? Are you someone who likes to end on a happy note? Do you keep things positive? So these are some of the basics that you may be asked, and maybe some of you have been asked this already. Okay, so these are just some sample interview questions, and we're going to do a few of these in a bit, and we're going to have you critique. Some questions continued. These questions are a little bit more behavioral, and the reason why they're called behavioral questions is that an employer wants to determine, based on your answers, your past experiences, because they can, for the most part, predict how you're going to act in a future experience, for the most part. So if I'm asking you to give me an example of how you utilized your organization skill, or maybe it's your communication skills, or maybe it's your interpersonal skills, whatever, we fill in the blank. I want to see of how you used it in the past to see how you can bring it to us. It's always about what you can do for the employer. What can you give them? Okay, think about it that way. It's not about what you're going to get from them. You're going to get experience and a good opportunity, and you're going to learn and grow. But what do you bring? Now, all of you bring something because you're so active right now in your high schools and your colleges. You're developing skill already. We want to hear about that on an interview. So start thinking about that. Start jotting down those experiences, okay? Tell me about a time where you had to handle a difficult situation with someone. We all have to do that, whether it's on a sports team that we play, a part-time job, a current internship. You know, what an employer wants to know by asking this is, how do you handle difficulty? How do you handle adversity? How do you get along with people? How do you deal with problems? All right, so that's the underlying meaning behind that question. Tell me about a time you failed. We all fail. I fail every day in some way, but but I pick myself up, and then I go and I learn from it, and I go on. Failure is a part of success. So we want to know not just how you failed or what you failed in, but how did you rectify it? How did you learn from it? What did you take away from the experience? That's the gist of that question. And then tell me about a time you successfully balanced competing priorities. Now, I give you all credit. I sat with a class this morning. I think there were about 12 students. They're first-year students, and they're all military veterans. So they're first year in college, but they have military experience. So regardless of your military, of your first-year students, transfer students, high school students coming into college, regardless, I give you all credit, because you're all balancing so much. 6, 7, 8 classes a day. Maybe you work part-time, maybe you work full-time, maybe you help with your siblings, maybe you do extracurricular activities as much as you can do now with being remote. I'm not sure, but we want to hear how you balance. Even now, you're balancing, you're juggling, you're managing your time. So you're going to be asked that question at some point. Okay, so these are just some sample questions. Again, a continuation of what we talked about on the previous page. Okay, and then this is a cheat sheet. If you want to take a picture of it, basically, what was the situation, the task, the action, the result? STAR. Think the acronym or the word STAR. When you're answering these questions, think about, because it's hard to formulate, think about the situation that you faced or a task that you were assigned. What action did you take? And what was the result? So when you're stuck on how to answer questions, think about STAR, and it'll help you come up with the answers. And you can even start jotting some of this down, maybe even tonight. Start jotting down after Jessica and I practice. Think about yourselves too and how you can answer these questions. Now, we're not going to go over every question, maybe about 5 questions, but here's where you're going to come in on the chat. And Alexa's going to be manning that chat. It's time to practice, okay? So what we want tonight, Jessica is going to pretend she's going to be my interviewee, all right? Jessica, and I'm going to be the hiring manager. I'm going to be the manager of the department, and I am going to interview Jessica for an admissions counselor position. Now, she currently does this at Pace. So maybe I'm Fordham, maybe I'm NYU, maybe I'm a competitor. We don't want Jessica to leave, of course. But we want to pretend Jessica is interviewing on my team at my school for an admissions counselor role. And I'm going to ask her certain questions. So I'm going to pull from the questions that we even talked about, okay? So basically, Jessica is going to answer in a not so good way. I don't want to say bad way, not so good way, and then she's going to do the correct way. And we want to critique each one. What was good about how she answered the good? What was bad about how she answered the bad? Okay, so are we ready?
We're ready.
We're ready. All right. Woohoo. All right. So Jessica, hello there. We're going to do the bad. We're going to do the bad first, all right? Jessica, how are you this evening?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you for signing on tonight. Thank you for interviewing with us. I'm glad to hear your interest in the admissions counselor position with our team. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So, I'm like really organized, and I enjoy hanging out with my friends in my spare time.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more.
I am a student right now, and I just am really looking forward to maybe working with you.
Okay, we're going to stop here. That was the bad interview. Okay. So what was bad about it? Oh my gosh, Alexa, can you help me? I'm getting a whole bunch of answers. Barely any eye contact. That's the one I see now, but I missed like 20 of them already. I'm sorry.
We've got barely any eye contact, playing with hair, saying filler words, so they really got them all.
And we didn't even talk about filler words, so you guys are ahead of the game. Those are fillers. When you're at a loss for words, you use those words. Saying maybe, she didn't answer the question fully, the sound quality, your eye contact, so definitely, so you guys were paying attention. Woohoo, great. She didn't answer the question, maybe. All right, so great. Okay, now we're going to do it the good way. All right, Jess, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Tell me about yourself.
Well, I graduated from SUNY Geneseo in 2018. I have really great time management and organization skills. During my time at Geneseo, I actually did 3 internships. The one that I enjoyed the most was where I did respite care for patients who had Alzheimer's so that their family could take time away. And during that time, I really enjoyed, making good connections with the families and with the patients. And I also do really enjoy reading in my free time.
Great. All right. So let me not say great. What was so great about it? Let me ask you. Let's go to the chat.
We've got some
Looking
more
at the-
great answers.
Alexa, feed them to me because I'm losing it here.
Yeah, looking at the camera, she was being direct. She was backing up her claims with all of the things that she's done. She kept going, even though she stuttered a little bit. She
That's
kept her
all right.
eye contact. She was talking about all of her amazing qualities. So yeah, they got them all.
Yeah. So basically, you see the difference. It really was, she gave me in a nutshell about herself. Like she gave me, like in other words, if you're sitting in front of somebody, you're not going to just be fluffy and say, I'm organized, I'm this, I'm that. It's like she started with where she's been, what she's been doing, how she contributed. And it wasn't too long. She didn't give me a whole story. She gave me like within a minute. And she gave me enough that I can ask her more questions and have a conversation with her, have a dialogue. She gave me enough, and it really is about what she can do for me. She's looking to fill my spot. Where has she been before? Where has she worked before? Where has she interned before? That maybe those skills she can bring to the table, so to speak. So great stuff. All right. We're going to go to a second question, but we're going to go with the bad first. Okay. Jess, are you ready?
I'm ready.
The crowd, are we ready to critique? Woohoo! All right, here we go. So Jessica, thank you for sharing about yourself. Can you tell me about 3 strengths and 1 area that you need to work on?
Yeah, so I am organized. I actually am really good with Excel. And, I actually did list a bunch of skills on my resume, so you can take a look at that. And I don't have any weaknesses.
Bad. Okay. What was bad about it? What was bad? Anyone? Chat. Her tone. She's not perfect. I like that. Okay. Let's see. Her answers were vague. Everyone has weaknesses, not acknowledging her weakness. She didn't answer the question. Has no idea of her own background. Everyone has a weakness. She didn't say hers. And again, the weakness is like, you don't want to keep it hanging. You want to even say, here's the weakness. Here's what I'm doing to correct it. Like I'm on it already. So great. All right. Anyone else before we go to the good answer? Okay. Thank you all. All right, let's do a rewind and do it right. Okay. So Jess, thank you for sharing about yourself. Can you tell me 3 strengths and 1 weakness or an area for improvement?
Sure. So with my 3 internships and being a full-time student, I really developed my time management skills. I'm also very collaborative and have always preferred working in groups. I think that I'm really good at letting people feel heard and relating to people. For example, during my internships where I worked with families of those with Alzheimer's, I did get a lot of experience listening to those families and practicing my listening skills and letting them be heard and feel like they had a safe space when they came to me. And for a weakness, I find that I often go into too much detail. I've been trying to work on that in group meetings by just making a list for myself of direct bullet points so that I'm more direct and to the point without going into too much detail.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Why was it awesome? Let's go to the chat. Alexa, what is the chat looking like? I see a lot of.
They're pouring in. They were,
all right. Woo,
they were
all
just
right.
beautiful. Chef's kiss. She was honest and straightforward. She gave a ton of examples to back it up. She's detailed. She promoted herself well. She fully acknowledged her weakness. But she, talked about how she was proactively taking steps to resolve that weakness, submitting a problem to the solution.
Yes.
And she didn't harp on any negativity with the weakness. She was short, sweet, to the point.
Beautiful.
Right?
Beautiful.
They're killing it. They're
Oh
amazing.
man, you guys are going to teach this next go around, right? When you get to PACE, you're going to do the workshop for me. Okay. No, it's great. It's great that you're getting it. Some of you have already done this. So you're coming in with your own expertise and critiquing, and I really appreciate that. And I loved about Jessica, she wasn't bragging on her strengths. She didn't come in boastful or, puffed up. She owned it. She owned it and she knew it. She knew her strengths. So again, that takes time. Not everybody knows their strengths, but start thinking about everybody has strengths. Everyone is skilled. Think about, if you don't have 3, think about 1 or 2 right now and give examples to support. Okay, so always think about not just saying something, but supporting what you're saying. Okay, that's the key thing is to support what you're saying. You don't want to just say it. You want to give an example. You want to give support. Okay, so we got 2 down, 3 more questions, and we're good on time. All right, here we go. Third question. I'm like speed racing here. Third question, and Jess, you've been a sport. You've just been great. You've been a great sidekick tonight, and Alexa too on the chat. So Jessica, can you tell me about a time where you had to work with someone difficult?
I could think of so many times, but there was one time I was put into a group project where I had to work with really annoying people who were just not pulling their weight in the group, and I had to end up doing most of the work in the group, and no matter what, they just really weren't helping me, and I did a lot more work than I really should have.
All right, that was the bad one, as if you didn't know. All right, so so all right, dramatic, gossipy, whiny. You're pretty whiny. So it's everybody's fault but Jess, basically. Everybody, the world is awful but Jess, right? Negative, overconfident. Definitely. I like the dramatic too gossipy.
It's true.
We were a little over the top with it, but you get the gist. It's like she came in like, I don't want to hear, like, would you want Jessica with that working on your team? Here comes trouble, basically. You want to know someone's true self, yes, but the true self is going to come out in other questions and other ways. You're going to be able to tell if there's a negative person, if there's a whiner, but to the best of your ability, you want to keep it light and you want to keep it positive. Okay, because nobody wants a crybaby on their team. They're tough to manage and they're tough to work with, tough to handle. So we're going to do a good one. Ready, Jess? All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. You ask the question.
All right, let me ask the question. Tell me about a time where you had to work with someone difficult.
So there was this one time that I was assigned in a group, and there was one person in the group project who wasn't really answering in our group chat at all when we decided to divide up the work. They weren't really answering, so I did decide to reach out to them separately to see if there's anything I could do and to see what was going on. And it turned out that they did have some other outside of school stuff going on, so they weren't able to really do their part as much as what was possible. So the other people in the group, we figured out a compromise, and the group project did end up running smoothly after that.
All right, I like it. I think it was good, but why was it good? Overcome obstacles, explained it professionally, wasn't blaming. Wonderful. Demonstrated a leadership opportunity, explanation of the other person comes off as a lot kinder, and also came up with a solution. Somebody's not pulling their weight, they're not part of the chat, they're not find out what's going on. Really, that compassion that you worked in with the Alzheimer's patient, there comes the compassionate and being there for others. Find out what's going on. Are you overloaded? Is there something going on? We don't quite hear from you. Instead of blame and negativity, it's concern. It's an outreach, and you draw someone in with that. So she did a great job with that. I like it. Didn't have the filler word. She was professional, showed communication. Yes, bravo. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. All
right.
Positive feedback.
Well, aren't you feeling good? Don't get puffed up. Okay. All right. Fourth question, and it's going to be the bad answer. Okay. So tell me about a time you failed, Jessica.
Well, one time I did fail a course in school, but it really wasn't my fault. The professor was so not my teaching style, and I just really couldn't understand his class at all. A lot of the other students failed that class too.
Okay, that was the bad, as if you didn't know. Why was it bad? Wasn't taking responsibility for her failure. Definitely. Pushing the blame, childish. And then saying other people didn't like him too. I'm like, okay, blame the professor. Yeah, sure, blame the professor. And it's negative. So my takeaway from that is that she may, behind my back or behind another colleague's back, not take ownership. She may cause problems. She may put a blame. She might, so it really, if she's saying that now and this is the first time I'm meeting her, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to get. Okay. All right. Let's see. You don't want what she's saying to she act at a potential job. Yes, exactly. Okay. So let's give the good answer. Jess, tell me about a time where you failed.
Well, there was one time that I chose to take a Spanish class during my undergraduate schooling that was too advanced for me. It was fully taught in Spanish and it was just above my comprehension level. And I really did struggle at first. When the course did start, I really struggled with the first few exams. So I decided to go to extra help tutoring and go to my professor's office hours. And I did end up passing the course, but it really was a struggle at first. And I learned that I shouldn't have chosen a class that was way too advanced for my level.
All right, great. Why was it great? Explain her solution to the struggle, accepted her struggle and her difficulties. She admitted. You admit what you don't know or what did not work. You learned from it. It's like, that's the last time I'm going to take that 500 level class that I'm not prepared for. Okay, admits that she made a mistake, that she learned, that she acknowledges her difficulties. Yes, you own it. Like you want to make it, I don't want to say a happy ending, but she takes the situation of the task. What was the action? What was the result or the outcome? You want to show the strategy that I failed. Here's why I failed. Here's what I learned from it. And here's how I'm going to do it better next time. Okay, that's the moral of the story. Basically, you want to show an employer that here, I didn't do so well, but here's, I learned about it and I'm not going to do it again. All right. So, fifth question, good and bad or bad and good. All right. All right. Why should I hire you for this position, Jess?
Well, I really have been looking for a job for a long time. I really do need a job right now. And I do think I'd be good at it. And I read that you have business casual, and that was pretty appealing to me.
Okay. Safe to say that wasn't the worst answer in the world, but it wasn't the best. So, comments. She didn't explain. Exactly. Oh, I love it. Jennifer, she says what she's going to get out of the job, not what she's going to give. It's about what you can give them, not business cash. I can dress down and I need the money. I need the money. I need the cash. I mean, we all do. Too desperate, not a good enough reason. She didn't elaborate. She's telling rather than showing. I like it. All right, great. Great. All right. You're getting it. I love it. But you, again, I'm not surprised because you are also, I don't know you at all, but I know that at your stages, you're already working, you're already developing skill, you're already interviewing probably. So this is great. All right. One more go around, and this is the good way. All right. The good approach. Why should I hire you for my position, Jessica?
I am efficient and I am passionate about higher education. I really do want to help students choose the right school, and I think that I could be the person to help them do that. I would be interested in the work I am doing, and I do have experience in customer service that will really help me to be the best I can be for this position.
That was good. Why was it good? Like, you know the drill already. Why was it good? A great asset. Wasn't arrogant. Gave the specifics. She explained how she's going to help. How is she going to add value? What am I going to get from Jessica? Like, how is she going to complement my team? How does she come in? How is she going to come alongside of everyone? How is she going to make my job easier? I hate to be selfish, right? How is she going to help make my job and my life? And how she's going to sell its admissions? How is she going to bring students in? I want to see that. She's very approachable. I want her to be on my team so that the students like, oh, I want to go to your school because of her. That's what I want to get out of this. She's interested in the work, and she shows her experience how it's going to help in the job. So definitely great job, Jess.
Thank you.
Couldn't have done it without
Great,
you.
great
And,
job to the chat.
yeah, you guys were awesome. I hope this helped. I'm going to leave my information. My email address is hcruz, that's HCRUZ, @pace.edu. Now, of course, Jessica and Alexa are your contacts and admissions, but I run career services in New York City. If you have questions for me, if you want to mention that you were on this call, I can ask someone on the team to assist you, or if I can respond to you if it's something that in my shop, in my world, I would love to do that. And I would love to see all of you here in the spring, next fall. I hope that you got a lot out of this and that you want to come to PACE and work with career services to get your internships. Okay. Final words, final comments, anything in the chat before wow, we have 3 minutes to spare. That's a first. Usually I go over. But
thank you so much for coming. I hope you all took down our emails, and I'm glad that you thought it was useful. But this was great. This was fun, Helene.
okay, great. Hope to see you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.